So, good afternoon, because it's already afternoon. We're running late. And so I'll try to keep this round table, which is not round in the geometrical sense, rather in the, let's say, conceptual sense. I'll try to keep it quick. And so the idea is I will make a brief statement, and then I will open the discussion. And basically the idea would be if the speakers, morning speakers, could perhaps intervene or have a question at the when I finish reading my text. And so perhaps this would be the best way if the speakers take 1 or 2 minutes just to contribute. So children entering school now will live beyond the end of this century. Society faces a range of challenges such as growing inequality, feeding and housing our population, healthy living, protecting our environment, generating sufficient energy, supplying enough clean water, urbanization and global climate change. The European Union has adopted a strategy based on 3 key drivers: smart growth, fostering knowledge, innovation, education and digital society; sustainable growth, making our production more resource efficient while boosting our competitiveness; inclusive growth, raising participation in the labour market, the acquisition of skills and the fight against poverty. Citizens have a much better chance of tackling these challenges if all societal actors understand the issues and their consequences and are actively involved in helping identify and monitor society's responses. Therefore, success in meeting these objectives is linked to our ability to educate smart, creative and entrepreneurial individuals able to think autonomously and critically, engage in lifelong learning, as well as the ability to generate new knowledge, social and technological innovation, and utilize and adapt to technological change. For example, the rise in artificial intelligence. A less unbalanced world and a better future for humankind will also require international cooperation and openness. So in this context, I would like to ask the speakers of the morning sessions what outstanding issues in their fields are of interest and concern to citizens and what answers can they provide. So, I mean, I think it was quite obvious in a number of cases what are the big challenges of humankind, but in each field, citizens, the common citizen, has fears, has anxieties, and we must provide some answers. Along the same line, I think one of the fears citizens have is that knowledge can create a less balanced world. So the gap between poor and rich people may increase. This is actually an ethical question. So perhaps with this, in these terms, could I ask the contribution of the morning speakers? 1, 2 minutes quickly.
Maybe I can start. I mean, you went right to the point, because, for instance, this new technology, gene therapy, they are very expensive, and at the moment, the only development is envisioned in countries like USA and even not all European countries. So the big question is how can we make them for the benefit of the whole mankind? This is why we develop plasmid, because plasmid are much easier to develop than lentivirus, for instance, and to maintain that lentivirus. But the cost of this technology now makes them only available to a minority. So this is a question that people are raising all the time. And there is one company from Lawrence Cooper in America who is developing plasmid technology for cancer treatment, for the CAR T cells, because he believes that the future of large-scale production of this therapy will be with plasmid that bacteria can produce by kilogram, and not with all these recombinant viruses, which are very difficult, which must be maintained at nitrogen temperature for transport, and which are or maybe -20. But it's very difficult to handle, and of course, many countries cannot, will not have any, receive the benefit of this therapies. So, of course, some rich people from these countries can travel to America, but it's not what we want. We want everybody to be able to be cured. And so there is a really important work now to do to lower the price of this high technological. And the corneal, the implant, cochlear implant are the same. 1 million people are treated, but this is a quite expensive implant, and of course it needs surgery, you need to go into the cochlea, so these sophisticated therapies raise the question of equality, of right to get access to the therapies.
Professor, how do you see that these kind of therapies will become cheapest in the future? It will depend on the amount of people that will use, or it will be in a future only for those that have a lot of money, that can voyage to States and that can pay in States, that it's not easy also.
Well, I think the answer is quite simple. The answer is engineering. Because now, for instance, for CAR T-cell technology, you have a company, a German company, Miltenyi, which is making a fully integrated machine where you just take the blood of the patient and you put it into the machine, and everything is done, no human intervention. Ideally, with the plasmid, it would be even cheaper. But everything is processed by the machine. So once this can become really, on a routine basis, then the cost will get down. So you don't need sophisticated manpower. The machine can travel. You just need to collect the blood. With plasmid, it would be very evident to do that. You don't even need cold chain because DNA can be stored at 20 degrees. It's very stable. So you just put your DNA into the machine and take some blood, put it into the machine, and then reintroduce this into the patient. So, I have good hope that good engineering practice will make these therapies available. It's the same for recombinant protein. It's very interesting what happened in, I don't remember exactly of what disease it is. It's about, treatment of hepatitis B with small drugs that were discovered in America. And the cost was tremendous, like a few $100,000 for a treatment. So the underdeveloped country or development country complained that they could not get access. So the OMS, the World Mondial Health Organization, decided to give to Egypt the technology to produce these drugs for the Egyptian population, because hepatitis B was a traumatic case of development in Egypt because of some bad practice of blood transfusion during early years. And I think 15% of the population was carrying the virus. So, so they have developed the Center of Excellence and this production center for low-price drug. And essentially, they have cured the whole population. So now Egypt is out of danger, so to say. And what I read is that recently now they are opening center in East European country where there is no money as well to use these very expensive drugs from these American companies. And they are now, because they have the technology, making this center in East of Europe. So, there is good hope. At the end of the day, all this technology will be available to the rest of the world.